Hello and welcome back to Pavs Pod. I never remember what episode it is, so there is no point me even trying to. It's series 2 though. This week again, no Philly Philly Bang Bang today. He is busy working away, earning all them pennies for himself, so he can enjoy his Christmas and buy Christmas presents for me. This week, obviously, is King's Cross Steelers, the world's first gay and inclusive rugby club. It was a really interesting chat with them. Si and Fossey they were on good form. Some cracking stories from tours involving a lot of vomit. So they're definitely worth sticking around for. Over the next few weeks, we've got some decent stuff coming up. We've got some more guests coming on. Still planning this live pod, trying to find a date in the diary to get that on. That'll be raising funds for the club, but we need to get some big names on the list so you don't have to listen to me and Phil whine on for an hour and a half or whatever it will be. Nothing really to report this week. We're going to go straight into it. It's a long pod, and I can't be bothered to talk about rugby. So enjoy. So here we are with Si and Jack from King's Cross Steelers. Boys, how you doing?
Good, mate.
Great, thank you. How are you? Thanks for having us.
That's all right. So we did have a few questions last week on why you weren't around. Basically, we told them that you were on the toilet for most of the day, which was assumptions.
The toilet was involved. I obviously went down. I thought I had COVID, but luckily it was just a 5-day sympathy cold, and it kind of came through the weekend. So apologies to everyone who was hoping for some quality content last week. You'll have to put up with whatever we can produce this week.
I was going to say, if they've watched it before, there's no quality content in this. So obviously, King's Cross Steelers, it's the star of an Amazon Prime documentary now. So I know, Si, you were a lot of part of that. So I'm guessing you're walking around feeling like a bit of a celeb, bashing off the paparazzi, signing autographs left, right, and centre. But for those who don't know, King's Cross Steelers was formed in obviously around '95. It's coined as the world's first gay and inclusive rugby team. Like most good ideas, started in a pub. And I think any idea that starts at a pub is worth jumping on straight away. Over the last
pod, just like Pubs Pod.
Yeah, not far off, to be fair. We had a beer. We were bored of everyone else talking, so we came up with our own idea. Over the last 25 years, this is where I've written stuff down. This is impressive, this. I feel like a real journey. Over the last 25 years, the club has sparked a larger gay and inclusive rugby movement across the world, with over 60 clubs now registered part of the movement. In 2020, this documentary came around called Steelers, directed by an Aussie called Eamon. And Si, like I said, you were in that. You're actually, if you Google Steelers, you're the third name on the cast list. So relatively important, I'd like to say. Sadly, on
IMDb. Who's second?
I didn't want to be on the pod, so not really bothered. But on IMDb, you're only 4, so they didn't make you that well, clearly. But anyway,
I cancelled my subscription. They obviously got upset.
Did you claim it back for that month? That's what I do. Anyway, Amazon, don't listen. Let's start with you, Foss. How did you get into rugby?
Got into rugby. I've been playing since I was about 7 years old. Apparently my parents took me to rugby. I hated it. They then took me to football. Apparently I stood on the sideline crying the whole time and screaming. Didn't want to do that either. And so they just tried it again. I don't really know if we knew people or why. They just went back to rugby and then just fucking loved it. And yeah, that was like under 8s. So I was like 7 years old and literally just played the rest of my life. Played for Wimborne Rugby Club back home till I was about 18. Then went to uni, played for Swansea Uni, and then kind of was in New Zealand for a year. And then when I came to London, wasn't my boyfriend at the time. I was like, we definitely weren't together. But he joined Titans, which is Bristol's IGR team. And I was like, I'd played for like a local side in Swansea when I was at uni in like my 3rd and 4th year. And it was fun, but it was like, it wasn't super competitive. So I kind of wanted something like a little bit higher what I was like used to playing before. So I thought I'd look into the Steelers and had a little look. And I was like, oh, they actually field like 4 teams. They like play quite competitively, like first 3 leagues are playing in like local leagues. So that's kind of how I joined the Steelers as well. So yeah, That was kind of my little story. Kind of.
Mate, you learned so much. I thought you'd only been playing a couple of seasons.
That's a lie. It's a fucking lie. I came in and you were like, who the fuck is this guy? He's fucking
What position do you play, Foss?
Back row, preferably 6. Not really fast enough for 7. Although when I joined the Steelers, that was funny. Played me at 7 quite early on. My dad literally was like, how slow are they? Like, thanks for the support, Dad. But very slow, very slow.
A very slow number 6. I mean, we've got some very slow number 6 in the club as well. So I think that's just nature. You played centre the other week, am I right?
Oh, where did I say this? Where did this come from? Because I'm salty still because they keep playing me at centre because we're lacking in the backs, and I'm like, I can pass and I can catch fine, but I don't enjoy centre. Like especially when we play like Harlow and they're like top of the league or one of the top of the leagues unbeaten. I'm like, this is fine, but their centre is just getting around me and doing all bits, and I'm like, this isn't fun anymore because I'm just here like, oh, I fucked up again. So
that sounds like another back row I know, Phil. Not the most mobile centre in the world, are you, mate?
I'm not the most mobile human, never mind centre. Yeah, I was stuck out there for 3 seasons, Jack, so I know how you feel.
This is I knew as soon as I said first. Don't get me wrong, I'm probably one of the most, not the most nimble forwards. I think Simon will probably agree. But it's not that much saying much because, we're a load of lumps. But still, that's probably why. But yeah, it's just Casper a couple of seasons ago, who's our captain now, he's a back row player, but he played like pretty much the whole season in the centres. So like the first game when they were like, can you play centre? I was like, I know exactly what's going to happen here. And I don't want to be a part of it. Lo and behold, here we are. I've played 4 games at centre, which is more games than I've actually played in the back row this season so far. And so apparently, and you know what the worst thing is? We have this kit rotation now because they've decided to be all mature and make individual positions and players like look after the kit after a game, make sure everybody's back. They keep screwing me over because they'll be like back row this week. And then they're like, oh, centre's this week. And it's when I moved to centre. And they're like, oh, it's back row this week when they've moved me back. And I'm just like, Casper, is this some kind of joke? It's like, you're already putting me in a position I don't want to be in and then making me clean up the muddy kit. Cool. Thanks.
We've got a lad that we often give kit to, don't we? Poor old Taz, always on bibs, even if he's not there. So, what about you? How did you get into rugby?
I was actually where I'm sat right now, because I'm back in my childhood home during the pandemic. But I was born opposite Moseley Rugby Club in Birmingham, like literally on the road next door. So as soon as I was kind of big enough to get involved in their mini and juniors, I was kind of the opposite of Foss. I guess I was dragging my parents saying, take me down there. So I went through their mini and juniors just over the road, like one of those kids who just, you can't, always in the rugby club doing something, either, down the back, finding pornos in the, that's what it was back then, like magazines in the, I don't know why I've gone down.
I don't know where I was going. I was like, what kind of nonsense?
What was the question?
Gone dark very early. Gone dark very early.
Oh dear Lord.
It's just, when you've got a really vivid memory. Anyway, the rugby club was over the road. And I went in there.
No. We can dwell on the pornos if you wish.
Magazines were good. Unfortunately, there's now just a Barrett Homes development there because they went bust and had to sell the ground to their shirt sponsors at the time. So that was pretty sad. So there's no longer a rugby club over the road, but obviously I kind of found the love for it really young. And then like Jack, I've kind of wherever I am, I try and find a rugby club and get involved.
So who else did? So you played? How long were you at Moseley? Did you play senior level as well?
No, I played Moseley until I was around 20. So I played like under 21s. I never broke into senior rugby at Moseley. They were in the championship then, and any time I got anywhere near, some body part of me would be broken, like dislocated my elbow on Welford Road playing the Tigers under 21s, and that was probably the end of my aspirations at that point. So I left Moseley, and then I went off to university, actually in Nottingham. So I played up at Nottingham Uni, and then when I came back to the Midlands, I was playing at Camphill down here. They play in, I think it was Midlands 1 at the time or something. And then from then, it's been a very sociable experience, really. I played Old Haberdashers in London for about a decade. They play London 1, I think. So just really good rugby, but kind of below the serious level, and just I kind of really enjoy that standard before people get too serious about it. And then about four or 5 years ago, I moved over to Steelers, and I've really enjoyed that as well.
So you wear the 08 shirt in the film, don't you? And I sat there for about 10 minutes with Tom going, I can't think what the bloody hell that team is. And I was going through like, all these teams. I was like, OH. So I thought it was old Halesonians for a minute.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh yeah, because he's from Birmingham. That makes sense.
Yeah, there's I was keen to wear the old Habs stash, because like, you know what it's like moving on from rugby clubs. Like you still like have a strong like affiliation to any club you play for more than a few seasons. But Habs, I was there for almost a decade, and I was kind of keen, knowing that there was the filming going on. I was keen to like just get the brand out there, so they loved it.
Are you on their clubhouse wall now with your stash on there?
Shrine to Simon.
Size shrine. Talking about social rugby, it's quite evidently in the documentary that you enjoy a drink and you enjoy going to different parts of the world and different parts of the UK. You must have. We love tour stories on this pod. We've gone through quite a few. So I don't know who wants to take the lead on this one, but your favourite tour story doesn't have to be with Steelers, but obviously it would be good if it was.
Simon, you go first, and I'll see what you say, and I'll kind of follow.
All right, yeah. Well, my one wasn't going to be Steelers actually, just because.
Mine's definitely not going to be Steelers. Jesus Christ, I cannot talk about.
We can talk about
on
Steelers.
This podcast.
We can talk about Steelers
too.
Well, so I was going to talk about Habs because their tours are absolutely class, and I think I was there a few years when we were doing kind of UK locations like Canterbury and places like that. They were fun, but then one year we realised like our favourite formula was just get on the cheapest flight to anywhere sunny, play touch rugby on a beach on the Friday, and then play rugby on the Saturday, and then enjoy a long weekend somewhere. So Valencia was the first destination, and it was just a brilliant weekend away. And on our tours, we used to vote like awards on the last night, or whatever, best on tour and worst on tour. And there was always a really fine line between like the best tourist and the worst tourist. And I just remember being on the last day, sat by some river somewhere, and there's a lad who's gone like really hard trying to get best tourist. And the news has come back, or the rumours come back, that he's just missed out on the best tourist, and he's so pissed off that he goes, "What? I am the best tourist!" And he takes all his clothes off, dives into the river naked, swims across the river, lies down butt naked next to two local Spanish girls, and just starts chatting them up. Comes back 5 minutes later with a number apparently memorized, and then goes for ask for a recount on the best tourist. But he won worst tourist, obviously, for being too try hard. But I thought it was pretty good commitment.
I say things like we had when you speak up and you make a decision like that for yourself, you're fucked, aren't you? Really. After it wasn't a tour story, but after the ones played on Saturday, we. So we do.
Good result. Go on the Pavs.
Hey, up the Pavs. But we go on to the dick of the day, man of the match, get up on the chairs, down upon the weather. We turned over to Broad Street and we said, who's your man of the match for Pavs? And their little nine piped up and said, the ref. And we were like, well, your dick of the day then. Up you get. And he was fucked. So basically, if you're young and you're going on tour, don't try and be good. Just do what you need to do. Drink a bit. You're not going to be liked by the end of it because you're young. He won't be because he's a 9. Foss, your tour stories, mate.
Oh God, I'm trying to think of the best one. I mean, I can think of lots. First, I want to say mine clearly sound much trashier than Simon's because my stories are horrific. Is that
I'm not going to lie. After the last 15, 20 minutes of talking to you, I would expect nothing less, if I'm honest.
Yeah, true. All the stuff.
Clear difference in class between you two.
Yeah, I mean, that's I mean, we'll start. I think one of the funniest, they're all quite brief but funny ones. Under 16s was our first like big drinking tour. We went to Rennes. Anyone French listening, please do not come for me in France, but it's in northern.
We're not that big.
Okay, cool. I was like, don't know how wide your audience is, but yeah, we're in France, and obviously, yeah, it's the first time when they were like, okay, just fucking go drink. So everyone was like getting on the Jaeger, getting on whatever. I was at the time studying French GCSE, so thought I was some sort of translator. Was just like blah, 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 between like everyone, just chatting shit, telling them that I can go windsurfing and like shit like that because it's all you
I'd like ham and cheese from the shop.
Literally, yeah, and so and it was just after they raised the drinking age to 18, so like bars didn't really care because it was like still 16 in their minds. So we all got like absolutely battered. And I don't know how it came to happen, but one of our teammates thought it'd be really funny with the dinner that we were eating. They had like fairly large sausages. He decided, he was like, I'm just going to swallow this sausage whole. Obviously very funny, entertaining. Like a seagull, inhaled it. And we were like, okay, don't know how the fuck you've done that. Anyway, everyone gets really trashed. Later that night, he's in his room, like 3rd, 4th floor up, whatever. He's like, I need to be sick. Has to like vomit out the window. You just see this fucking this sausage come flying out, and you look at the vomit, and there's this pile, and it's just whole sausage, and everyone's like, "Why the fuck is there an unchewed sausage in this pile of vomit?" And Kellen's just like, "My bad. I did inhale the whole sausage." That was the same tour that someone decided to eat a fuck ton of sauerkraut, threw up on the bus with sauerkraut coming out their nose, and then
oh my Christ!
Yeah, it was like 16. Yeah, it was horrible. It was like there was a bin bag at the back, and it was like, no, absolutely not. So that was like 16s, 17s. So like, this was like, I guess technically like youth.
We're doing every age. I like this. Go on.
No, but this is
Can I just check, Foss, how old are you before we start doing every age?
I'm 27, but don't worry, I've only got like this next.
Yeah, I'm doing every year, Jesus.
Yeah, 17. God, this is why I'm saying I'm haggard. No, 17s was fairly low key. I think I just like pissed myself in a queue for somewhere because I couldn't wait. That's just like standard.
He's taken one of my questions away.
Well, there we go. I have pissed myself in a queue for later on. But 18s was quite like not scary, but sad at the time because I got an absolute bollocking from the coaches because of the state of the room. And sorry, I'm just like remembering the story. So we got hammered, came home. I think I went to sleep, and I think I was drifting off, and I basically started like throwing up. Like I was on my side because I'm a sensible person. I was like, I'm drunk. I don't want to choke in my sleep. So I like started like to throw up. I ran to the bathroom, but some of the damage had been done. It was like, so the bed was like covered. It was a mess. It was fucking, yeah, it was like the Somme in there. You don't want to go in there. And then drunk me decided, I was like, I'm going to clean this up. So I tried to take the sheet off, but it was like a really tight fitted sheet. So I like kind of like pulled it off, and it just kind of went bang, just like slingshot vomit all around the room. My mate was like, "What the fuck was that?" And like hit him in the face. So like the coaches the next day, like they were sick on the wall. What the fuck were you doing? And I was like, in my defense, I was trying to clean it up, and it just kind of like sprayed everywhere. So yeah, Dad have to pay like a fairly hefty cleaning bill, and I was in the bad books, but. Looking back, I'm like fucking hilarious. Like my mate got hit in the face by like flying vomit out of nowhere.
No sausage though. So.
No sausage in that story. No. That was
one of the few Fossey stories that doesn't have a sausage in it.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
Too easy. Too easy.
Phil, I mean, you've obviously, without blowing your trumpet again, you've got some tour stories. What's the worst condition you or one of your mates has left a room in after a rugby tour? Because I know you've played with some fucking horrible blokes as well.
I mean, the room was not soiled at all, but there was also nothing in the room when the lads came out. So one of the lads, we were on pre-season tour down south, and he gave it the big one as he left the night out, but he left the lads with the girl and was like, yeah, I'm going back to hers. See you boys in the morning. And we were like, well, that's quite arrogant. So we all got back and basically broke into his room, took every piece of furniture, clothing, everything out of his room, hid it all across, like, we were on a massive army barrack, so we could, hide it miles away.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah.
And he came back and he kind of walked into his room and went, I think his initial thought was probably, oh, this isn't my room. And then slowly dawned on him that everything had gone and we never gave it him back. So we spent the rest of the week sleeping on the floor and stuff like that. I think he got his kit bag back and that was it. But he slept on the floor for 3 nights while we were on our way on a pre-season tour, which was quite entertaining.
Was this one of your mates that we might know and you're trying to keep his identity safe?
Correct. Yeah.
Fair play. Can we not know?
No, not right now.
Fuck. Okay. My tour stories are nowhere near that, so we won't.
What's Tom? What's the best one you've had on here? Like in a nutshell, because you must have heard a few.
The Biarritz one's good. I like the Biarritz one.
What's that?
So our captain and a few others who have been on, they were under 15s tour to Biarritz, and basically somehow someone's got a hold of fireworks and started setting fireworks off in a very posh hotel.
Oh yeah.
Which for 15-year-olds is absolutely just menace. Like, but I quite enjoyed that one.
I quite like. I mean, proper name drop here. When Ollie Barkley came on, telling us how Simon Shaw forced him to spend all his money within the first hour of him being in Canada on a stripper. That was quite funny.
That was quite funny. We weren't meant to tell people that one, were we, Tom?
No, we were allowed to tell people that one. We just cut it. So just listen here. He does not listen anymore. I'm not sure he listened to his own. I was that keynote that thought we invited him to do a live pod, and I messaged again, and he went, "Oh, we'll get some other lads on for you." He was like, "Oh, sounds." So I messaged him. I thought, "Oh, he's a busy lad. I'll leave it a week." Messaged him again. And it was on the third message. I thought, that's a bit creepy. Delete the message. You will approach the bloke ever again. It's one of them. I don't want to go full stalker. Just moving on, we reached out to the public for some questions, and I'm quite conscious we've got a little bit of conversation we want to go through. So I picked out one which my mate asked. It doesn't play for Pavs, does listen. Adam, nice to... Thank you. Hi, Adam. I don't know if you watched, so so I waved at you. He loves documentary. He's the one actually that pointed me into the direction of the Steelers documentary. And he wants to know, how did the drag queen night come around at Steelers? Because he said it looks like a mint event, and why can't you take it on tour?
Well, yeah, we just had Steelers drag show, in fact, a couple of weeks ago, and it was probably as good as it's ever been.
Yeah.
And it was won for the first time. It was won by a female doing a drag king, which I was like blown away. And
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was it was sold out and an amazing event. It started, I believe, it was Drew as well. And so Drew, who's another one of the main guys in the film. He used to be like, front and center of kind of the social side of the club, the tours and that kind of stuff. And so not only was he instrumental in the Heaven show, which is like the whole kind of talent event that they do, he also, I think, was involved in setting up a Steelers drag race. Have you done it, Jack?
No, and I apologize. I got you the shit one from the documentary. Clearly, I should have got Drew on this. So,
everyone wants Drew. We could probably slide him in.
But no, I've not. I only did. I was pit crew last year, and I was like a last ditch. I was like, no, not last year. We don't have it last year. Sorry, whichever. I don't know what year it is anymore. The year where we could do it.
Drew in the documentary, Drew comes across as quite. Like a well-mannered, quiet bloke, and then turns into this absolute animal at night. I'm guessing from the laughter that's not true, but but also in one of the short clips, I think it's in your penultimate game in that tournament, he's literally turned the bloke inside out in the scrum.
Yeah.
Is he? And he's got some legs on him, and he's probably about, well, from my point of view, about 5'5", and about his legs are about 5 foot wide. So he's like got some stuff. He looks like he could move the earth.
He's got serious power, and his tackling was like, if he caught you at the wrong angle, you'd be going backwards. I mean, Foss is a decent tackler as well, but
Rude.
Drew.
Just texting.
He's the one, when you look at a team and you're like, right, if you run into him, you're fucked. But you can get around him, hopefully.
When I turned up to the Steelers, Drew was playing fly half. And I was like, never played fly half myself, but I was like a centre. And they were like, what position do you play? I took a look at Drew. I was like, I play 10, actually. I was like, the ball's not coming out past him. So I've always been a 10. And that's how I rebranded from 12 and 13 into 10.
For anyone who's not seen the doc, Drew is big into his drag scene stuff by the looks of it. And I think, and for those who haven't seen it, Drew is also from New York, I think, or definitely from America.
Somewhere in America. I should know this. I feel bad. Sorry, Drew.
it's that part of
East Coast, definitely East Coast.
Yeah.
And you see a clip of him in his match day wears on his phone, and he just looks like, in the nicest way possible, Drew, a generic prop. And then about 30 seconds later in the documentary, he's dancing around in high heels and then pulls the splits out of nowhere.
Oh yes, he does.
Yeah, it's the thing that baffles me. I can't, and it's just, I don't know if you watch Drag Race, like actual Drag Race, not our trash that we do. But like every drag queen can do the splits. Like no matter how big, they're like boom, and I'm like, how are they moving their body like that? And Drew is no exception.
It takes me 5 minutes to tie my laces.
Yeah,
I can do the splits.
I've never been anywhere near it. At the moment, I don't think I can barely like step through the threshold of the door. Like that's how tight my hips. And he not only just like goes into the splits like a gymnast would, he basically jumps up, and if the earth wasn't there, he was going through it. Like he absolutely slams down into it. I was like, oh yeah, he's cool.
That's my moment at the form, that is.
Yeah, if I could do the splits like that, every nightclub I'm in, bang.
Yeah.
I'd be like, guys, watch this. I'd be like that cool dad, move, fucking watch this, kid. And then no one would talk to me.
And you rip your jeans.
Only rip jeans, not from.
There's only do the splits to do that. To be fair, boss.
I just need to get off the sofa. That's why I only wear trackies now. Phil, do you want to get your package out?
Yes, let's do that.
We never asked.
Finally, this is why we're here.
So Phil's package, which was crudely named by Tom, is basically just a quick fire question round. Now I'm going off piece today because I was late to start the podcast and therefore I've not prepped anything because I'm forever a professional. So what I'll do is I'll go back and forth between you and ask you a question each, and you just have to answer it as quick as you can.
First thing that comes into your head, no waiting.
No, not too much thought. I'm not clever about it.
Crude it is. It's crude, it's fine, it don't matter.
So Jack, we'll start with you.
Oh, shit.
You're going to be happy because the first one's the easiest question.
It takes back to when I was on Tipping Point. By the way, I see me in the brown shirt. I was on Tipping Point. Yeah.
Right, we'll come back. Let me write that down.
Right. Question 1. Mr. Jack, red or green?
Green.
Simon, favourite beverage?
Coors Light.
Coors Light. Is that also in your hand now? Yeah, that is, isn't it? Jack, favourite opposition?
What, like rugby team?
To play against, yeah. Who's your favourite?
I hate them all, so I'm trying to think. East London, I should have gone quicker than that because
East London, we share a ground with them, and it's a brilliant derby. And
nice.
yeah,
we don't talk about Saturday.
I was going to say, I saw the scoreline.
No, that's that. Edit that bit out. It's okay.
I was sick. Did you play, Foss?
Yeah, but I will point out that basically me and Perrin were the only two that got constant shout outs from the coach because everyone else was shit apparently. So, right, okay.
I should have brought my boots down.
Well, I wasn't, so okay.
What a teammate.
I will throw them all under the bus.
Just trash them all.
Simon, last time you wet yourself?
I wet myself in 2009, standing up in. I know this because I just resigned from work, got really drunk, stormed out, said I couldn't handle it anymore. all the like my work colleagues chased me down to the pub and said, "Come on, you do you want long answers or are you fine?"
Yeah, you know,
I mean,
this sounds like
nothing like a fire round with a narrative. But, yeah.
2009
Absolutely fine, because I feel like this is going somewhere. This is going somewhere.
2009 is the short round, so you can cut there if you want. But for your benefit, I just feeling overworked. You know, it was my birthday, and I quit. I went down to the local Slug and Lettuce, and the barman knew me, and they were all buying me shots. So they bought me quadruple tequila vodka Red Bulls. I remember those. Yeah, I didn't even know those. They were like TVRs, and then they kept absolutely murdering me at the bar. I then I think it was my boss came up to me and started chatting like a load of nonsense to me about like, you know, maybe I should like think about it before like being a twat and resigning. And all I could think was I really needed a piss. And like he carried on talking and I was just like, I'm pissing. So I stood in my suit in the Aldgate Slug and Lettuce in 2009 was the last time I pissed myself.
That's so. It went from Hollywood storm out to oh fuck.
Hey, Tom, I was back at work so that was the Friday. I was back at work on the Tuesday. Reporting for duty.
Oh yeah, I'm here. Oh, that's incredible.
I don't know where to go now. Jack, we already heard last time you pissed yourself.
Well, actually, that wasn't the last time I pissed myself.
Oh.
Technically earlier a little bit. I don't know why. I just got in the toilet and started weeing it out.
What?
Your bladder control is much better than mine, Simon, because I've had it quite a few times in the last few years and I get really drunk.
Oh, God.
I wasn't drunk earlier, but I remember one time I was in Amsterdam a couple of years ago, really drunk, got home and it's like, it's happened a few times when my body gets to the bathroom, it's like, I'm here. And it just starts going. I'm like, oh, I'm not on the toilet yet. This is just, and then I sat on the toilet in my boxers that time. It's like, this is just depressing.
Daddy Egg struggles with that as well.
I have to have that conversation. If I'm desperate and I'm walking home from town, I live in the city, I'll be like, Tom, you're 5 minutes away from the toilet. And I have to like talk myself into it. And then I do the same. Sometimes I'll get there, think I'm fine, look down and my trackers and I'll be like,
it's my body's like, I'm in the safe space, I'm going. I'm like, no, 10 more seconds.
So Simon, back to you. Best player you've ever played against?
Best player I've ever played against. John Bentley. Yeah, played John Bentley in the 10s in the pre-season. Yeah, back in the day, he was a legend.
Oh, Sam.
We'll jump back to that in a minute.
Yeah.
And Jack, finally, this will mean absolutely nothing to you, but Jonty or Jim?
Jim.
Yes.
Good answer.
Jonty is nicknamed the Weasel, and we don't really like him. I actually punched him in the back of the head yesterday at training. I told him it was an accident, but I just saw the opportunity, if I'm honest. The game of touch, bang. Let's go back to Ben Toss, because Ben Toss is a Pabs fan.
Is he? That's funny.
Well, he probably not after the night out he had with us.
So basically, we had a end of year ball. Well, it's 3 years ago now, and he came to do the after dinner speech, and he was absolutely brilliant. He was fantastic, and
he's great.
We also had the casino in the town centre sort of booked up for the hidden bar in there for after the do. So he obviously disappears off to his hotel, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll come for a drink." And we're like, "Yeah, of course you will, mate." Disappears off to his hotel. Didn't think we'd ever see him again. Rocks up about an hour later, absolutely steaming. So he's obviously just gone rip roaring hard at the hotel for an hour. He stayed all night till 5 o'clock in the morning. Via a little interlude where he went back to bring back a sex device. And then
he's big into his sex devices.
Yeah, he's big into
what's a sex device?
I'll leave that to your imagination, Jack.
Right. I mean, there's a hot. I mean, you don't want to do
risk.
my imagination.
And then the next morning at 10:30, he was at one of our one of the club members' house because his son was a massive fan. And he said on the night, "Oh, I'll pop in for a cup of tea in the morning." And again, they were like, "Oh, he won't come round." And he popped in at 10:30. So he's become an absolute legend. He's been in touch a few times with the club since, and we're hoping to get him back soon.
Yeah, we would get a podcast, but that's not wise. We won't be able to broadcast it. So
yeah, he won't be able to put anything on a podcast that comes out of his mouth.
Not at all.
Well, my experience playing against him was like a pre-season tournament. I think it was Old Halesonians actually. He was playing for, I think it was maybe Cleckheaton, I think at the time or something. And,
yeah, that's his club. Yeah,
is that his club? Yeah. So he was playing in the centre, and I was one over, and then my mate was playing opposite him. So I wasn't directly opposite John, but he was obviously kind of on his way close to retirement at that point, but good value anyway. My mate has got one of the biggest gobs in like Midlands rugby at Camp Hill. Anyone who's played anywhere in Birmingham will know him. He plays fly half for Camp Hill, and he's just giving all the jip to John, saying, "You're a has-been, mate. You never were." Like blah blah blah. All this like terrible chat. Bentley, like obviously old kind of wise man, like waits for the next breakdown when the ref's like looking at the perfect like wrong angle for the blind spot and just absolutely clocks him straight on the jaw. clean punch, and quietens my mate down. I've never actually seen him that quiet for quite a while. But then end of the tournament or after the game, I can't remember which, fair play, John comes into our change room, like shakes his hand, passes him a shirt, like says, "Oh, like good lad, like good chat, blah blah blah," and they both kind of made up and were good pals after that. I just thought, same as your experience, I thought he was a pretty down to earth, like lovely guy actually at heart. So
yeah, he's absolutely class. To stay till 5 o'clock with a load of blokes you've never met before, I thought was absolutely class on his part.
100%. From Ben Toss to Ben Shepherd, Foss, talk to me about tipping point. That was fucking smooth, mate.
that was a great way.
Class.
Big fan. Ben Shepherd's a great guy. I just, when you're like watching a game show and you're like, I'm getting more than 50% of these right. This is fucking easy. And then like the chase would come on, I'd be like, absolutely not, never going on that. I would just car crash. So I just applied and ended up getting on it. I'm still fuming because if you watch the episode, I was like, I won the first round. In the second round, I think I went first because like, right, I want more coins in the thing. My questions were so much fucking harder. She had like the girl that like ended up winning. She had like, I mean, she was lovely, no ill blood, but still salty. She like one of her questions was like, what French word is used to describe like the bathroom next to the bedroom? And I was like, you're getting this with ensuite. Anyone listening?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I've got one, thanks.
Okay, well, maybe it was harder than I thought. But yeah, she had all these ones, and then she just fucked me over in the next round because she got to go first, and she like played ones she didn't know to me, and then yeah, I had some pretty tough questions. And it was
Do you know what episode it was, Jack? Because I'm going to go back and test myself on all your questions.
Absolutely no fucking clue. But it's aired at least 2 more times since, because I keep getting people like, "Oh my god, are you on tipping point?" And I'm like, why is this coming back up? I thought it was once and then done. Like, are these people just watching Dave all day? I don't know. People got a lot of time on their hands, but it was good fun. It was a good experience, and yeah, definitely, I'd say easier questions than some at the chase. I would be that guy.
Did you finish the day? When Ben says like, "Oh, unlucky, you're out," but did you go, "I've had a great day"?
Yeah. I definitely was. I was super positive. I was like, I had a great day.
Everybody says that on that show. Like, if you get knocked out on that show, you have to say
like, fuck you, Catherine. Fuck you,
Catherine.
She's lovely. I mean, I think there's a very, very, very slim chance she's ever gonna obviously listen to this. But
what do you mean?
She was lovely. She was,
no mystery prizes?
No, nothing really. Just yeah. But it was great. I mean, you can tell they kind of cast it like a couple of them were I don't know, nice people. Let's just say nice people. Nice people. Didn't do too well in the actual game show though.
Oxygen thieves. They are oxygen thieves.
No, but they were nice. They were nice enough that they're not quite oxygen thieves, I'd say. But yeah, like just like one was a bit older. One, I guess they were both a little bit older. And like this one of them was like, I'm just here for the day. This is just so exciting. I was like, bitch, I want some fucking money, all right? Like, and this is but I'm so skint right now that I really want to win something.
Well,
it was good fun.
While you were telling that story, like just to pass the time, I was Googling Jack Fossey tipping point, and I couldn't find anything actually.
That's good.
But I did find an article from Wales Online saying a 21-year-old tried to live on £5.28 a day in solidarity with asylum seekers. What is that, Jack?
That was when I was a welfare officer for the year. So I was one of our student officers. I was the welfare officer. And in solidarity with refugees, basically lived off refugees wage for a week. And then we got to meet them at the end, which is very nice and eye-opening. But Wales being the land that time forgot, obviously don't like this sort of stuff. And so people are kicking off like, I bet he's blah, 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 blah. Like living off this is like, it literally says in the article what I'm doing. Like fucking read a book.
So for £5, sorry, what was it, £5?
It was like £5.28 or something is the budget they'd get.
So what were you eating? Or
I basically did like a shop at the start of the week, and like I still like kind of half cheap because I had things like toothpaste, deodorant, other stuff like in the house, so I didn't really have to budget for that.
Oh, so you were going for the front page news, weren't you? You weren't really bothered about it.
He actually got sponsorship for this and then treated himself to a holiday to the Maldives afterwards to recover.
Yeah, no, I actually went to Afghanistan.
On the ferry, fuck you.
No, but yeah, that was that. What was really funny though after Tipping Point is like Twitter. You just get all the fucking gammons and like middle-aged people just like on Twitter that clearly have nothing better to do than spend their whole time watching Tipping Point. So they're just making these observations which are really funny. One of them commenting on the sexual chemistry between me and Catherine. I was like, that's just barking up the wrong tree in so many different ways. Like,
it sounded like you're pretty into Catherine from
So you mentioned Catherine a few times. So yeah, Catherine, if you're listening,
you know what? Fuck, I can see why now. Yeah, this is me. Maybe I had a little straight face. It's like questioning on the show. Like I don't know, so much pressure. Do I? I don't know. Have I made like the wrong choices? I don't know.
We'll take a quick break because I need a wee. And we're back to ask a few more questions before we let you go back and enjoy your evenings. Jack playing Apex and Si probably watching Countdown or something.
Grand designs.
Grand designs.
That's good though.
I've been to the toilet. We're back ready. Foss just pissed his pants while sat at his desk, ready to go. Just want to move on to kind of a bit around the documentary. So, obviously, we heard quite a lot about your story around yourself and coming out and stuff. But what I really want to ask is how important has Steelers been to both of you in your journey, going through playing rugby and just in normal life as well?
Yeah, I mean, I said some of it in the film. I never expected to do the film. And never expected to talk. I mean, obviously, the flip of like not talking about your sexuality for like best part of 30 years and then having it on Amazon Prime is quite going through the weeds of it is quite a flip. But the reason I ended up doing it was just because of how amazing the club has been to me and like what it's given me. And I think I'm pretty sure I would not be playing rugby now for sure. And I think what it really did for me was tied together my passion for rugby with who I am deep down as a person and always have been, but made those two things like coexist in a much more comfortable fashion. And I just love the club because it's like kind of being thrown in the deep end of like gay culture, if you like, but also in a very familiar environment of rugby culture. So the lads are just as like wreckheads and pissheads as every other club I've ever played at. The content of like their victims is slightly different. But it's a brilliant place, and you meet like the range of characters like you do at do at any rugby club. But it's been really important to me, just I think helping me through a change, like any life change, you know, and rugby clubs are good at that, but Steelers was particularly good at helping me through this one.
Yeah. What about you, Fossey?
I mean, mine's less deep, but no. So I came out quite a lot, like before Simon. So I came out when I was like 17, 18 sort of time. I'd say I was like half out then, and then I was like fully out the closet when I was like in uni. Like my rugby club at home was always super supportive. Like they were great, like they always are. I've rarely met like homophobic rugby players. Like everyone in the team that has similar experiences has always been great. But it's always just a bit like, there's just something, obviously, like it's a load of my straight mates and I'm a gay guy. There's always just like a little slight disconnect. Like you get on with them really, really well, but there's always just like, so they'll talk about girls and whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, yeah, tits, yeah. It's like laughing along. So for me, when I moved to, especially moving to London, because I joined pretty much when I moved to London, like hand in hand. So for me, it was like going from being a complete stranger, knowing basically no one in London, suddenly you've got like 30, 40, 50 gay rugby playing mates. Terrible for my physical and mental health, but like awful. Like, Christ, this is like the first couple of weeks, like fuck me, how am I gonna last? But great guys, and it's just like blokes are like, well, just everyone's super close, you know. I always recommend it to anyone if they're moving, even if it's not like the Steelers or whatever. If you're a gay guy that does sport, there are lots of inclusive teams. Like there's swimmers, there's people that do football. I think clearly I don't pay much attention to other sports, but there's usually an inclusive team for most of them. And like if you're like a new young guy moving to London, it can be quite a scary and toxic place. There's a lot of stuff going on in the gay community that I'm sure most people probably know about. That's very easy to go down a really dark path. So for someone that's quite impressionable, it's like incredible and valuable. You can just go there and just have like a solid group of mates from the start, which, like I said, terrible for my actual health. But I mean, I feel like they just kind of like pull you back before it's getting like before it gets too dark. They're like, nope, too much, come on, back we go. It's like a line, apparently. I don't know if we've crossed it yet, but no, yeah, just like it's just so nice to just like from the bat, like I suddenly just had this massive group of mates in London, similar interests, went out and played rugby. Like people like Butch on the pitch, then afterwards like, yeah, honey, let's take a drink. So no, it's just wicked, and I definitely recommend it to anyone.
Yeah, and we were going to finish on this question, but I should have rejigged the script because it fits in. But obviously, like I mentioned, there's now over 60 gay and inclusive clubs around the world. But obviously, there'll be members of the LGBTQ plus community that don't particularly want to step out of the clubs they're in, and don't particularly want to just go and join in with like Steelers or the Manchester teams or people like that. But because you I don't know what your experiences are on the pitch. We've never delved into that we're not delved into it here or off the pod. But what can clubs who aren't like gay and inclusive do to make people feel comfortable in just who they are in sexuality or anything else as well?
I mean, I was going to say, firstly, give us their players because we're kind of a bit low at the moment, so would love them. I mean, part of it's like an education thing, so just like knowing things. Like I'm sure lots of people have just thrown slurs around, just be like, oh, that's so gay. It doesn't really mean anything. And to like us, we don't really care. Like we've said all this shit growing up, but just if someone's maybe closeted or, they're kind of on the way out, just little things like that when you just hear it are a bit jarring. It's like a player might just say it completely off the bat, not like even knowing, no like ill blood at all, but it's just like a little thing like that. It's just a little bit jarring, and then it kind of makes them almost want to go back in the closet sort of thing. So I feel like just education around words like that, just anything like, gay, fag, puff, whatever, just, I guess, try not to use them. Like, we use them all the time, but that R word, we can say it. I'm awful for it. Like, we literally greet each other, I'm like, sup, faggot. But, even in the gay community, it's like, some people don't have reclaimed it, some people hate it. But just in terms of like straight, quite masculine environments, it's just gonna be a bit uncomfortable, I guess, sometimes. But then otherwise, just like, yeah, I guess just creating that environment where it's just very open and like people can just kind of be themselves. 99% of that's going to be lads, straight blokes for most of them. But just knowing that, I guess, like being open-minded, like things like, I know it's natural to obviously talk about girls and everything like that, and that's obviously completely fine. Sometimes I don't know, sometimes it can be a lot, like I guess when that's all people talk about all the time, and it's like, and then they'll ask each person and shit like that, you can be like a bit uncomfortable. So I guess it's just like creating that environment and giving people the space to say their stories, not necessarily like, I say, ramming it down people's throats, which is what they say that we do to everyone. But like, you know what I mean? Just like, rather than like assuming everyone is straight, whatever, and that like they must be like out pulling birds at the weekend, just kind of moving away from that sort of, I guess, environment, so everyone can kind of just be themselves. I guess that's me. What about you, Simon?
Honestly, mate, I was like, when when the question was asked, I was thinking there must be loads of things, but I couldn't like think how to articulate them. But I think what you've just gone through, I thought that was actually a quality, like quite easy to follow list. And I knew you'd be good at that question. And also it resonated with me because I think, you know, obviously even coming back to Birmingham, like I'm turning up at a few local training sessions and stuff. And you still do hear like the language flying around, and it's not like I'm like, oh, that's a homophobic guy, but you just don't know, because you're like, was that in jest, or was like when he's gone, oh, you're fucking queer or whatever, like was that just a throwaway from the old days? Or so like I do think that Fossey's right, that like we all, like, you know, us included, who use the language should be trying to be thoughtful about when we use it and how it might impact people. And then actually, yeah, just like I'm thinking about all, like, I mean, I spent most of my 20s I didn't talk about women, but like same as you, Foss, I was just like, yeah, great point. You know, and I guess just the awareness that you know, that people, there there probably are, right, people in behaviors, like, you know, in who are still closeted, because we, like, you know, although there's 60 gay and inclusive rugby clubs, you know, and there are more out players in kind of mainstream rugby, there's not many, are there? Like statistically, if I think about all the clubs, you know, and the clubs that I have a connection with, I still don't know that many, but there probably are right in and amongst all of you. So I think just you know, like, credit to you, like bringing us on the podcast. I think, you know, if you've got gay players or LGBT plus players in the club, then they'll hear this and see that, you know, Pavs is a place where they're welcome, and it might just make the difference.
Yeah, and it was I'll come on to my next question, but when I was talking to Phil about getting you lads on, I was like, oh, watch this documentary, they seem like real fun, they look like they like a piss up, should we get them on? And it was kind of who are they? Oh, they play for Steelers, it's this and that, and he was like, oh yeah, but they want to piss up? Like, yeah, right, sack, fucking get them on. Yeah. One of the questions I was going to ask is, when you play on a Saturday, do you still hear them slurs? Are they like on the pitch against you, or do you ever still come across that, or is it a case of people have now realised that that's life, kind of thing? You know what I mean?
I've not really had it. I don't know about you, Syed. Like I don't know if it's now we've been around, established long enough, and actually playing some quite good rugby, that people are like, fuck, it's not just 15 puffs on a pitch. Like, it's actually people that can play some rugby. So don't. And maybe also because, I mean, actually I say it, we play in Essex. I was going to say because we're in London, people are a bit more open-minded. And I was like, fuck no, I think of where we go. I'm just like, that's an asshole of nowhere. Like, yeah. So
I haven't heard, like, yeah, probably, like, I've probably heard two things in the 5 year, you know, said in anger in the 5 years, you know, that I've been playing there. It's so limited. It's minuscule actually in that environment. That, you know, the club is just so welcomed. I forget, like, quite, you know, most of the time that, you know, that is the foundation of the club. You know, we just go out and play in London Essex Rugby every week, like any other club. And yeah, I mean, I think that is a credit to, like, where the world has come in the last, like, 10 years or so, you know, since we were younger playing rugby and stuff. And so, you know, the people who set that club up 25 years ago, I mean, I'm sure it was, like, much more challenging back then, but since I've been playing, it's brilliant and a good, like, accolade for where the sport is. But obviously we need it. I think there's still, to your point, like, so much, like, over time, I think once we make these welcoming environments, it still takes time for people to actually feel 100% safe, because you don't want to take that risk. This is still a relatively recent change, so it might just take, we might just need a bit of patience to see it actually properly kind of bleed into like much more diverse teams, which is going to be good for the sport, isn't it, longer term?
Yeah.
I did think of one thing actually that can help. Stop being so gay in the showers. Honestly, like, like the number of people that are like, well, so what are the showers like? I'm like, you know what? They're so normal compared to when I played in straight rugby teams. Because the fucking shit that like people used to do in the showers at like at uni, at like club, I was like, are you sure? Like, you're not all a bunch of boys. Like, honestly.
Are you saying stop stealing our sexuality?
Yes, appropriating our sexuality in the showers, please.
Leave the gay stuff to us.
The fear you used to get sometimes, like, fuck, what's going to happen in the shower today? Like, Jesus Christ, they'll just, I don't know, I'm sure you've all seen it. The blokes that just clearly don't give a shit about anything and just decide that the shower is the fun time to just exhibit all of that.
I think we've got a few lads who I'm not bothered by the rugby. If I'm honest.
I mean, there's the added catch of our shower as well. They've got an electric shock on them.
Oh yeah, it's the biggest risk in the world. Go for a shower, you might come out. It's great.
So you might never come out of our showers because you might just end up having a heart attack on the floor if you try and hold the thing too long.
And some of our lads are so thick they'll bring the defib out in the shower. So
clear, cool.
Just before we go into rugby moments, I was thinking about this earlier today. I was thinking about how would you ever want to get to a point where Steelers were almost not relevant, in the sense of, why do we need to have gay and inclusive rugby teams? Well, do you think we need to get to a point where actually we don't need gay and inclusive rugby teams anymore, or is it still a good facility for people to go and feel safe if they don't want to go into the mainstream?
I mean, I think it's a very nice dream to have, and a nice goal to have, and I think it's like life, like the number of people, or the number of times, you see on social media when like a celebrity comes out, whatever, you always get some people that are like, why is this news? It doesn't matter. And it's like, I get it, but it matters to a lot of people just because you're fine with it. There's a lot of people that aren't. And so I think it would be great if we got to that stage. But that said, I think, yeah, it is always good to have that safe space, and just things like, I mean, like if you go out clubbing, like, I mean, obviously depends where you go, but the majority of bars, even the straight bars in London anyway, doesn't really matter like who you are. Like, you can, if you're kissing a bloke in the club, it's still not, you're not really gonna get stabbed or whatever, depending where you are. But gay bars are just like, I guess, more fun because like for us, we're just surrounded by gay guys, and it's just like that like-mindedness. So I think it's a combination of the safe space and just like a group of mates that just have the same mindset, that I think is always probably going to have a relevant place in sports. But I'd like to get to the point where it doesn't necessarily have to be like, this is where all the gays are sort of thing, kind of disperse and everyone's pretty comfortable, but there's still like, I guess, a hub for like LGBTQ plus players.
My view is similar. I am hopeful that like we will see like continued like rapid kind of change in terms of there's a good number of straight players now in our first team squad, and I think that's amazing. And I can't say, hand on heart, if I was straight, would I turn up to play a gay rugby club, a gay and inclusive rugby club? I don't know, and they've all got good reasons for being there, but they really enjoy the environment. And we're like, to your point, like we're trying to make our club welcoming as well, like irrespective of sexuality, right? We're not just trying to make it a club that's only feels good for gay people. Or
I mean, that would kind of fight the wrong corner, wouldn't it? In the end.
Sorry.
No, you're not
allowed. No.
Exactly. So that's I think the first step is like continuing to like make sure that is the case, and like maybe like those numbers will change, and then over time, I think the club would and should always have its roots like tied firmly in this is its origins, but there's I mean, like any old school boys club or like London Welsh or any of the Exiles kind of clubs, like that's their history and heritage, and you'll still hopefully find within their players who come from that like sense they're playing there for that reason, whether they're the old school lad or whatever. But then over time, that those things get kind of diluted with like mainstream rugby as well. So I would hope that we get to a place where it's still very much like a kind of selling point and like characteristic of the club, but it's much more like blended into society. But it's kind of like we move towards like society and society moves towards us, and then we meet somewhere in the middle. I think is probably where I'd like to see it. While I'm kind of in my rocking chair, we're not in the not too distant future.
Next year. Cool.
I was say, when's retirement on the card side? Because
very soon. Daddy Simon, there's a
I have retired. I'm sure many like players have gone through this. I have retired like 3 or 4 times. I just keep coming back.
Half of our first team have retired 3 or 4 times. Phil, have you retired, Phil?
Not really. Ollie Collingham has retired like 6 times and he's 34.
Well, he did get that Lipsil contract, didn't he?
He did get a Lipsil contract.
Software
matters. Software matters.
Software matters. That was the tagline. Didn't appreciate it. Phil, would you like to start on asking best or worst rugby memories?
I'm going to ask. I'll tell you what. I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to ask Jack for his best and Simon for his worst.
He's like, I don't need any more trash.
Keep it clean, please, Jack.
I guess best like couple. I mean, one of the highlights is definitely playing Union Cup because I haven't played a Bingham Cup yet. For anyone that isn't aware, we have sort of biannual tournaments. It's basically the Euros for IGR rugby and then the World Cup. Union is the Euros. We had that in my first season. And then Bingham was supposed to be last year in Canada, in Ottawa. But COVID happened, so we couldn't go, and it's been like postponed for ages. Then there was meant to be Birmingham for Union this year, got cancelled, so we're going back to Canada next year, hopefully, which would be amazing. But I haven't played in one of those, so I guess my highlight was Union. I say it kind of because it was an amazing tournament, but the European IGR teams aren't that strong, shall we say? Because we kind of went. I mean, we've won every Union that we played in, and this time we went, and over the course of the weekend, we scored 240 points. Bearing in mind, these are 40-minute matches, isn't it? Or is it 20-minute matches, and then it's 40 minutes in the final? And we conceded none. so, I mean, it was kind of, I was a bit annoyed with the way they organised because the Emerald Warriors, the Dublin team, were easily the second strongest team in the hardest game. But I don't know how they did the fixtures, but they did it so we played them in the semis. So we beat them, and I think it was like 19-0. It was like the closest game we played. And then we played Manchester Spartans, who obviously we get on really well with, but we beat, was it like 55-0 or something in the final?
So that was a really interesting one for me. So one of my really close friends that I played with for about 6 years in total, he was the coach of Manchester Spartans so Alex Shaw is his name. Was the coach for a long time alongside another guy I played with whose name isn't coming to me right now, but he's a big prop, a big bear-like prop who was
great terminology, a bear. He's done his research.
But yeah, so it was quite interesting because I hadn't sort of made that connection until I watched the documentary, and I was like, oh yeah, the Spartans, forgot about them. Yeah, so
yeah, that happens.
Yeah. That's fired.
Shade. Where's that shady rattlesnake noise from RuPaul? But yeah, so I mean, it was a really cool experience because this tournament was great, and they like live streamed it. So it was in Dublin, but my parents were at home watching, and I was like, this is actually pretty cool because short of being like, semi-pro, it's actually rare that you're playing on a screen for someone to watch, even if it is spanking a really shit team 50-0, it's still quite a cool experience. And Nigel Owens ref the final, which is cool.
Oh, class.
He did not want to be there. You could tell. He's just like, why the fuck have I signed up to this? Like, we're just spanking this team, and he's just like, what is this? Why am I here? Like, these gays cannot play rugby. What is the point? I was told they can play. But yeah, that was, I mean, it was cool that he was there. That was I guess a highlight. I guess another like just personal highlight was like under 17s and 18s playing for county, because it's just a highlight in your rugby career. Although in one of my first games I got my first ever yellow card. I was like, cool, thanks. Been on 3 minutes. Guess the regional's not happening then. But yeah, I guess that was obviously a highlight, and just county cups back home were quite fun. We usually used to win them. Well, I was Dorset, but we were like Dorset and Wilts. It's a weird hybrid county where on our own we're kind of both okay, but then we come together and we're actually pretty strong. What it did mean though is for years it was the Dorset Cup, and we did quite well. There's us and Bournemouth seems to be like the strongest. Then one year we won the Dorset Cup, and we then go and play in the Dorset and Wilts Cup. We got absolutely spanked by Chippenham. They're clearly like they were just a much stronger team. We weren't used to playing a side like that. And my dad afterwards was like, I think that's the first time I've ever seen you lose by that many points. And I was like, yeah, that was bad. I was like, we'll stay the Dorset champions and we'll keep it there. Cool. Yeah, I mean,
that's why we were always the best team in knots.
So, Simon, what was your worst memory?
Worst memory. Yeah, I was thinking through like multiple freezing conditions memories, but they're just pretty generic. Like I really catch the cold. When I get cold, I'm awful, and I just stand there shivering. So, but then like a memory came into my head, which does just remind me of the moment when I knew like I needed to go into my third retirement, basically, which was I'd just come back from one of the knee injuries, I think it was, and I was kind of in my early 30s, and I was getting nudged out from like inside centre to outside centre, and then closer to the bench. I was on the wing, and then I was never quick enough to be a wing, but then suddenly I was that person where I wasn't good enough to get my own shirt anymore in the centres, so I was like out on the wing, and that was really fucking annoying. So then the worst bit came when I was on the bench to come on the wing, basically. And I think we were playing I can't recall who we were playing, but it was one of those yo-yo teams that comes up and goes down, but they were like on their way up, basically, and so they were looking pretty good. We had an injury on the wing, so I came on, and I remember we got the ball. It was around the halfway line, scrum, and then the ball came to me on the left wing, and it was a 2-on-1, and I could have dummied and gone, probably could have scored that way, could have fixed the guy, passed the ball, probably could have scored that way. But for some reason, I thought I would have a crack at a little chip with my wrong foot, like my left foot, which I've never done. I've never kicked the ball with my left foot, like in anger on the pitch. So inevitably dropped the ball onto my left foot, and literally it went off the bit at the bottom of the shin and the top of the top of the ankle, came off there, went
the cankle, we call that.
Cankle, yeah. So I cankled it like parallel to where I was, straight out, almost a little bit backwards. And there was an argument about is the line out like directly where I kicked it because it went straight out, or was it a little bit behind us because the ball actually went behind us? And I didn't even go home with the lads that day. I literally went on my own separate like journey on the back of like this train, and I was like, this is Fox. Like I'm just like I've got to resign for the third time. So Luton, I think it was at Luton away. It was like
nice place to go, is it, Luton? Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
What was the rule? Where was the line out taken? I'm genuinely.
I think it gives the best advantage to the attacking team, doesn't it?
Well, you get the choice, don't you, as the attacking team?
Do you want it there or half a metre that way?
This was the debate that was going on, and I was just like, I was dead quiet because I was just like, this is the most humiliating thing while the players debated.
What you've done there, Simon, is you've actually broken rugby. Like you've broken the laws of rugby.
You've done the
one of shit that was. You've actually broken the laws of rugby.
So shit, you broke rugby.
Well, that's my legacy.
And on that, now you've broken rugby, I don't think there's anything else to talk about. So lads, honestly, thanks for coming on. I'll be down for a beer. I'm sure I can drag Phil down for a few beers in London. But thanks for coming on. It's been really good to chat to you, and we'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.